VSiN, the sports betting network.
Follow the money.
That's what I always say. You always follow the money.
Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Pauly Howard on VSiN.
Here we go. It is Follow the Money on VSiN, the sports betting network. Mitch Moss, Pauly Howard, live in downtown Las Vegas, Circa Resort and Casino for the next 3 hours. A big boy tonight. We have the Orange Bowl, one of the two semifinal games in the college football playoff, which we will spend a lot of time on today. 3 different guests talking about that game and the game tomorrow night. Paul Stone, Brad Powers, and Alex White. Alex is awesome. You're probably familiar with Paul Stone and Brad on the show. Alex has been on the show only one time this year. She finished second in the Circa Friday Night Invitational. Kenny White's daughter, phenomenal at betting sports. She's going to be a little bit later on in the program. And Paul charging as well in 30 minutes with his thoughts and player props wild card weekend in the National Football League. Now, how about the news today, Pauly? That rumor, I don't really know if I should call it a report. I'll call it a rumor that the flu was going around with the Notre Dame locker room. And I think that coincided with, at least one sports book, the favorite flipping in this game. Because I didn't even see it. I was away from the screen for a half an hour. Luke, our producer, was all over this. And he's like, yeah, it went to like Penn State -1, but then it quickly flipped back. This is from On 3. The Notre Dame locker room is battling a flu outbreak ahead of the Orange Bowl. Those who have it bad, but it sounds like that's mostly backups and special teams players. So now we're back at the Fighting Irish as a 1.5 point favorite in the game.
How does that happen?
How does that happen?
Get out of here.
Right.
They also had the flu against Indiana, some guys too. So do with that what you want. In any event, it should be a low-scoring game, and even though you couldn't grab the 50 or the 49, Paul Stone's on the total. I can only look under, and this is the game that sports books love, that you are rooting for nothing to happen. So I'm going to be anti-fun and boring Pauly tonight with no score first 5.5, no score 6.5, first quarter under, largest lead under, longest touchdown under, and much like the Georgia game, just who's going to make the mistake at quarterback. But if you don't make mistakes, field position battle should be a low-scoring game, war of attrition, Notre Dame banged up, and I still can't see how this goes over 45.5 as well. Should be all the makings of a 1980 old-school football game.
Shall we dive into the anytime touchdown market and look specifically for no touchdown? I bet it at 80-1 last week against Georgia. We were live until you jinxed it on the air right before halftime.
Yep.
But this, I don't know. I'm exactly like you. I hope this is 3-3 late in the third quarter.
I think that's in play because you got a number 2 defense giving up 13 points per game. 12 wins in a row. They've been awesome defensively. I guess the only hiccup was against USC, right? Shut down Georgia. You want to say backup quarterback, okay. Dominated Indiana. The scores were in garbage time. And then it's, do you trust Aller? And I don't.
No, neither do I.
No, and if a quarterback's going to make a mistake, it's going to be him. And the other thing, too, is I don't think Notre Dame's going to beat themselves. They're so well coached, well prepared, and Penn State has benefited from 7 turnovers in the 2 games with Madsen and Jennings losing their minds. And the other wing is Franklin. So here we go. It all lines up for Franklin, 1-14 at Penn State against top 5 teams. It feels like first to 17 wins.
Oh,
that might be too aggressive.
Might be first to 13.
That's
first
possible.
To 10. Who knows?
That's possible.
So I'm also, you're exactly right. Franklin, all the negatives are out there about the guy when he takes on really good teams. They've been awesome so far in the playoffs. I would also consider the SMU, how they absolutely lost their minds early in that game, and the 2 pick sixes gave them a clear advantage there. I don't think they were not playing good football. I thought SMU was a better team for the first quarter and a half.
And Boise had more yards and more first downs.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
They were outgained, and Drew Aller had 13 completions in that game. Mm-hmm. But Boise has 3 turnovers. That's going to cost them, and it did. I'll flip it, and I'll give you some negatives here on the Fighting Irish. They had 244 yards against Georgia. 90 of those yards came in the air. Like, they're not... Come on. The passing attack, this looks like 1960s football with Notre Dame.
Yep.
It's all about Leonard running the football and also their 2 backs. But, again, their star running back, Jeremiah Love, who had that 98-yard touchdown run against Indiana in the first round, he had 19 yards on 6 carries last week, clearly hobbled. His rushing prop has dropped all the way from 52.5. What's the latest you saw in that?
32.5.
So it's down 20 yards.
Yeah.
and kickoff's only a couple of hours away. The longest completion for Notre Dame in that game was 14 yards. Now, when you look at the ground game for Penn State, 702 yards in their last 3 games. Their running backs are special. They killed Oregon on the ground in the Big Ten title game. Both guys were really good in their playoff games. However, Notre Dame's defense, Pauly, as you pointed out, no doubt it's the real deal, and they allow 3.6 yards per game. Like, what it's going to be, what gives there, right? Is it Notre Dame's defense getting blasted by the Penn State's running backs, or are those two guys, Singleton and Allen? Yeah, are they going to be minimized tonight in this game by a really, really stout Notre Dame defense?
I think Penn State has the edge with the 2 extra days rest. No doubt about that. But it also goes back to what are you drawing up as an OC and what are you going to try to take away defensively? As we saw Penn State focus and want to shut down Genty, and then Madsen had some big plays and he hits the tight end wide open. It's a 3-point game deep in the third quarter. I think they'll contain the rushing attack and make Aller beat them. And as we said yesterday, the Big Ten title game hasn't aged well, considering how bad Oregon looked defensively against Ohio State. But does he turn it over? And does it flip here? Is Penn State the beneficiaries of all the turnovers in the first 2 playoff games? Notre Dame, number 1 in takeaways this year, and 155 points off said turnovers. And that could decide. We saw what happened in the Georgia game, right? Horrible coaching, horrible job by Smart, and that flipped the game along with the kick return to start the second half. So I don't think there's going to be any. I'm concerned about the Notre Dame offense, absolutely, because you have a banged-up Love. How about these juicy middles? You got like 20, 25-yard middles on Leonard rushing yards and Love rushing yards. So I don't think they'll have success on the ground. And then it comes down to Leonard, and it's going to be dink and dunk. If the one guy who I think who can run the ball will be Leonard, but with Love banged up and Flanagan hurt and Cross hurt and Mills is out, this has got to be 16-13 to me. It's got to be 17-14.
Well, as popular as the under has been on the Jeremiah Love rushing yards prop, you can also flip that and say it's the other way with the Riley Leonard rushing yards prop, the quarterback for Notre Dame. 14 carries, 80 yards against Georgia in the last game. Against Indiana, now keep in mind Indiana on the year had one of, if not the best rushing defense in the entire country. And he had 11 carries for 30 yards in that game and 1 touchdown. But if you go back and look at his game log, because his rushing attempts prop tonight is 11.5. I think that feels like the right number. Although I think that also the game plan here for Notre Dame is to get him involved yet again, and he's going to even take off when the guys are not going to be open in the passing game. But 11.5, he did go over that number a handful of times this year. If you go back from game number 1 forward this season, it was 12, 11, 11, 12, 13, 6, 10, 10. So, perfect number. I can't make a case for either one that I love. The rushing yards prop would be the one that I really, really like, but that's already ballooned up again to like 49.5. And early in the week, if you were playing the ladder props on Riley Leonard to get plus money at 50 plus, 60 plus, that kind of thing, I think that was probably the right approach with him. I'll throw you this too. Tyler Warren, tight end for Penn State, phenomenal player. His prop as low as 63.5 tonight. The receptions prop is 5.5. On the season, 98 catches, 1,158 yards, 8 touchdowns. That includes the playoffs. 9-6 to the over, 5.5 catches. And he's done that in 6 out of the last 7 games. But he went over 63.5 yards in 7 games this year. So it was far from like every game he was blowing by this number, obviously. Otherwise, it wouldn't be as low as 63.5. He did have 5 straight overs at 63.5. Entering the playoffs, 2 unders since. But Penn State's going to move the ball, I think, somehow, some way in this game. I'm not expecting like 400 yards by any stretch, but is it going to be out of the backfield with those 2 backs, or will it be this guy through the air because he's so good?
It's a tough handicap from the side total. It's a tough one. But
there are 45 and a halves are still out there.
Yeah, I still think that's too high. And the other thing too is if it plays out like I think, and like the Georgia game, I bet over 3.5 field goals 3-1. And I took first scoring play, Penn State field goal plus 450. You could also do that with Notre Dame as well.
Okay. I know a lot of people here on VSiN, they've been making the case for Notre Dame's first drive to end in a punt.
Who has that?
That's
Caesars,
probably
Caesars?
a DraftKings, I would think.
Okay.
Maybe a Caesars.
What is it? Even money?
It's like even or minus 105. I think you're right with what you said, by the way. If anybody turns the ball over tonight, again, that's been going Penn State's way.
That's got to stop.
With the turnovers.
Yep.
But Riley Leonard feels like a guy that's not going to go out there and throw like 2 or 3 interceptions tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Could be wrong.
Yeah.
But I just don't see that happening. He's
Yep.
he's very careful with the ball. And he would prefer to take off rather than like force a really bad toss, the way it seems.
Again, the big news this week, huge. We're coming back to SiriusXM starting January 17th. Channel 158 in the SiriusXM app. In addition to the new channel, a new show for SiriusXM, VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio, Maher and Dustin, every weeknight from 7 to 10 Eastern, Sirius Channel 82. January 17th, VSiN Channel 158 on SiriusXM. Great to be back.
My brother asked me a pretty good question today. That is, what if we get Penn State, Ohio State in the national title game? What will national media say about 2 Big Ten teams playing?
Sure. And it's the Big Ten then has control and tells the SEC what to do.
Mm-hmm.
That would be back-to-back years. The SEC can't even sniff the title game.
His point was exactly what you just said. He's like, after we hear about the SEC everywhere, every week during the football season for years, it's like, finally, if that happens, now what? What are they going to do? Mm-hmm. So it's Follow the Money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Email is ftm@vsin.com. You can follow us and hit us up on X as well, at VSiN Live, and Mitch Moss Radio, at Pauly Howard. Up next, that was one high-level basketball game last night. You're telling me that you have a money quote as a result of the game, and to think they were down 2 really good players and we still got that game. Our takeaways from it coming up next.
Time. There's nothing more valuable. It's what drives everyone to make the most of every moment. We celebrate living large in the now. In a city where time disappears, we create experiences that electrify the soul and memories that will last forever. We go big, we go all night, and here, everyone is invited. So get loose and get loud.
This is Circa. You'll have the time of your life.
Join us on a numbers game where Gil Alexander takes you on an informative and entertaining ride, focusing on the numbers that fuel today's bettors.
The Pittsburgh defense is amazing. I'm not doubting that. You think it's impressive, but you don't get how impressive it is. Okay, Mr. Football, we get it. In the end, there's Mahomes, just waiting, laughing at your little rankings.
He sets the table as the money comes in each day, helping you become a sharper bettor. Catch a numbers game weekdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, only on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
So, Pauly, have you had a chance to read the VSiN Daily yet?
Yeah, came in at 3 a.m. What's Bill doing up that late?
Well, rumor has it, it starts off with a 12-hour meditation session.
Then he just pours himself over film and live TV, really focusing and taking it all in. Bill's in with the biggest insiders, talking trade secrets, strategies, the whole nine, absorbing the info.
And then and only then can the writing process begin.
In Las Vegas, Bill's Late Night becomes your early morning. Wake up to the very latest betting insights in your inbox with the VSiN Daily. Sign up for free at vsin.com/newsletter.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
129-122, your final score. Cavaliers improved to 32-4 last night, 19-1 at home with the loss. OKC goes to 30-6. You give me 7 games of that in the NBA Finals, and I won't turn the TV off for 1 second, and it'll be thrilling basketball for all 7 games. 30 lead changes, 8 ties. The largest lead was 9 points. 11-game win streak now for Cleveland. They meet again next week. Here was the problem for OKC. They looked awesome last night, even without Caruso and Chet Holmgren. But down low, they got eviscerated. Allen and Mobley combined, get this, for 46 points, 22 boards, 13 assists, 4 steals, 2 blocks, and they were 17-24 from the can't beat them that way.
Yep.
You're going to have to hit 25 threes in the game.
How about what Cleveland did offensively in Mitchell's 3 of 11?
Yeah.
So it goes back to coaching, pass. That's how we're going to beat you. And to do that offensively, number 1 offense against the number 1 defense, incredible. When your best player's 3 of 11. Brian Windhorst at the game ESPN. The execution in the third quarter, which OKC won 43-41, was the most technically splendid 12 minutes of midseason basketball I've ever witnessed.
My takeaway was, Pauly, much like Spurs-Knicks on Christmas Day, I was blown away at how entertaining and well-played that game was. Same thing last night. I don't disagree with him.
Cavs walking away with the win is meaningful. But they would admit there's a little space between these teams. Cleveland's ability to run their offense and generate their standard amount of open looks with their great passing and spacing against such a great defense was the most rewarding for them. And I think as a result, you have to buy in and believe. There had to be an adjustment with the futures market. This team is real. I will get to this coming up. The similarities between the Golden State team when they won it are nuts. But they are now minus 220 to get the 1 seed. If the Celtics are going to continue to play with their food, this team's the real deal. And I bet Mobley most improved as well at 8-1. 28-1 when leading at halftime. 32-4. 2 separate 11-game winning streaks. 23 wins by double digits. And as you mentioned, 19-1 at home. It's a great story. Hell of a team.
To your point, the extra passing last night, how many times when they were zipping it around the court, when they would find way, and OKC again is historically good defensively. I get it. Caruso's awesome on defense. No Holmgren, whatever. But Dort was lights out on Mitchell last night, hence him having a terrible game. So was Wallace on him.
Yeah.
But how many times when they would make that extra pass and find like a Wade or a Strus in the corner, and if you give those guys a foot,
right,
it was nothing but net every single time.
And to get that guy back, Strus is going to knock down those open looks, right? So
there's snipers out there.
Yeah, when you look at the roster, you're not blown away with the team basketball, and I feel good for Allen. Remember when they got swept by the Knicks or lost in 5, whatever it was, he said the lights were too bright, and they're together, chemistry. Great coach, and you just see the ball movement, getting everyone involved, and Garland has really taken a big step also with his game. I
will say, like, in my head, again, comparing that team to another team that comes to mind, it was the Spurs when they got revenge against the Miami Heat, in 2014, when it was some of the most beautiful basketball you're ever going to see. The extra pass, the sharing of the basketball, the open shots, and how they converted and how they executed, won them a title. Yeah. And that's exactly how the Cavaliers play and how they played last night.
Atkinson now as high as $4 Coach of the Year.
Wow.
But I just think they're going to be able to do this, and again, with their record. And other than that, you want to call it a fluke, but not respecting Atlanta, the home and home. They've been dynamite because they didn't play well at Boston and could have won the game, and they were in that game. And probably Miami flew with one of those other losses.
You said they're what price right now to get the 1 seed?
Minus 220.
Okay.
Also take a look at best record at the All-Star break, too. But again, you're running out of time here. I mean, we're almost into February. So these prices continue to go up, and up with the juice.
Going to tough to beat them out for Coach of the Year. However, there's a team in action tonight. And if they keep doing this now, Paulo Banchero was listed as questionable. He's been out since October 30th, and he was playing by far and away the best basketball of his career.
What does the seed have to be?
For the Magic?
Top 4 seed?
Top 4 seed.
Yeah, with your 3 best players out, still winning games?
There's no Suggs. And, by the way, now there's no timetable for Suggs to return.
Yep.
So make it number 4 with this team. So I originally wanted to bet the Magic, thinking that Paulo might come back. Suggs was going to be okay in this game. Now, T-Wolves are up to 6 now. So I don't think I'm going to get involved. But here's what I did do. Anthony Edwards now on the year, 25-11 over his 3.5 made threes. This was a thing at the very beginning of the year because books were not adjusting quickly enough to his made threes. And then it disappeared because the numbers got too high. And then the amount of attempts that he was taking from downtown also dropped. He's averaging 12 attempts from downtown in January. That number dropped to 7.9 for the entire month of December. His last 3 games, 7 of 11, 6 of 13, and 10 of 15. So it's back to early season Edwards, and I thought it was more than fair tonight at a good price at 3.5 over minus 104, minus 105 for made threes with him, and I climbed the ladder a little bit with him as well.
Mm-hmm. The other thing is you have to go for it and make some moves. And I was listening to the Brian Windhorst Hoop Collective podcast. Orlando hasn't made an in-season trade to improve the team in like 9 years.
Wow.
And it was Markelle Fultz. It wasn't, at the time, he didn't think it was, improvement. So.
Oh, my God. Markelle Fultz has been in the league that long?
Yeah.
I guess that was the Jason Tatum draft.
Whatever it was, yeah. 6-7 years ago, whatever. Right.
Wow.
But you got to go for this now. And you just been so bad for so long, and you got that taste last year that you have to make a move at the deadline and try to improve this team, and you're in the mix, no doubt. And Mosley's in the mix for these awards, too, if they continue to win. I don't know how he's doing it, but I don't want to do it with Minnesota. I don't trust them, and they've been a major disappointment. And as I said earlier in the week, they had no business winning that Clipper game until Edwards turned into Superman late with the threes.
Yeah. He had, 53 against the Pistons, too? That's the game that he hit the 10 threes?
Yeah.
So he's been, I guess.
Chemistry isn't right.
No.
That's right.
And I guess he's just going back to early season form again saying, well, we kind of stink, so I'm taking 23s a game now.
And speaking of chemistry, this Hawks-Suns game's interesting. The Hawks playing good ball. But will Beal and Jurkic do the right thing and embrace coming off the bench? And Beal said all the right things about, they're trying to trade him. He has a no trade. He makes all that money. But they're best served with him coming off the bench. He says, I'm not a bench player. I am a starter. But he embraced the backups, the guys who've been getting in the starting lineup, and he had a great game off the bench the first time. We'll see if Jurkic does the same thing. But here, another big disappointment where you thought Budenholzer, coach of the year, I love their win total over, and they were off to a hot start, and then Durant got hurt, and it went to bleep.
Yep.
This team cannot be under 5. This is embarrassing that they're under 500, and we'll see if they embrace this role now. Short sample, but it went well in a couple games, but I think it's still too many points here. They have to prove it to me that they're able to put together a winning streak here and actually cover big numbers. Good start, though, beating Philly on the road.
Yeah, definitely check the status of the Hawks starters for tonight. Jalen Johnson ruled out. He's not going to play in this game. There are some others, too. I think that just pay attention to it if you're going to be betting that contest. Booker is 23-7, under 4.5 rebounds on the year at the prop analyzer at VSiN.com. Dyson Daniels, 24-9, under 4.5 assists. Hornets-Lakers game, of course, postponed because of the fire and because of the horrible weather in the Dallas area, which might impact how many people can get there for the Cotton Bowl tomorrow night.
Yep.
The Blazers-Mavericks game has been bumped up to 7:30 Eastern time tonight, 4:30 Pacific. That team is 2-5 since Luka went down. Kyrie also out.
Yeah.
PJ, no, here's the thing. He's 23 and PJ Washington under 18.5 points on the year, 23-6. But that's, again, that number, somebody has to score points with those two guys out. So I'm going to be very careful on something like that. Quentin Grimes averaging 15.5 points, almost 6 rebounds, and 4 assists in the games that Luka has been out. He had 23, 9, and 6 against the Lakers. He also made 6 threes in that game.
Are you on the Heat? Tell me you're on the Heat tonight.
Tell me why I need to be on the Heat tonight.
They just played Utah at home and lost by 36 points. Revenge? Humiliated. No? They're hard to figure out. Routed at home by Indiana. Routed at home against Utah. That was after the Butler suspension was announced. Should have beat Sacramento, lost in double overtime, and then the next night pounded Golden State. It's hard. You can't get a read on this team.
I know.
But after being humiliated at home, I would think this is a good opportunity here for the Heat to get back and stick it to the Jazz.
They're a very difficult team to figure out, as you said.
But
I know this. The Jazz play in some crazy high-scoring games, so it's 222.5.
Yep.
That could be an angle, too.
That's
here.
right. Look at their scores going back. Yep.
Yeah.
In sports betting and trading, understanding probability, the ultimate game changer. Unlock the secrets of high probability trading with Todd Bubba Horowitz, former floor trader and seasoned sports bettor, over 45 years of experience. Visit BubbaTrading.com/VSiN today. Promo code VSiN500 to save $500. Don't miss your chance. Sharpen your strategy and gain the edge in your trading game. BubbaTrading.com/VSiN. Promo code VSiN500.
What do you think about the Cavaliers-Celtics if that's the Eastern Conference Finals? Cavaliers with home court.
Be a hell of a series. I don't know what they'd make it. How high would Boston be? But I would have to look at Cleveland with a nice
I don't think Boston would be too high. They about depend. I mean, we're really 3 months away from even the regular season ending, but
yeah,
I think it'd be a really fun series.
Be a hell of a matchup, right?
Yeah.
And maybe the Bucks can make this interesting too. Loser on I don't know what that was, second quarter out of the Spurs, but the Bucks are hard to figure out too, but they have the talent.
Paul Charchian on the program coming up next. He is loaded with player props for Wild Card Weekend, National Football League, and I was surprised to see how low this number was.
Sports betting game with VSiN's exclusive betting splits. Stay ahead with real-time market trends and track bet percentages on any matchup. Then uncover the edge by comparing them to the amount of bets placed to find out where the sharp money is headed. Upgrade to VSiN Pro to access betting splits, live odds, line moves, power ratings, and in-depth game analysis. Go to VSiN.com/pro to join VSiN, the sports betting network.
This is VSiN, the sports betting network.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Player props here, wildcard weekend, our weekly spot. Fantasy Football Hall of Famer Paul Charchian. You can still get in, draft a fantasy football team for the playoffs at guillotineleagues.com. He is on the progressive guest line. Good afternoon, Charge. Let's get right into this. You sent over some props the other day, and I was like, wait a second, that can't be the right number. It's Saquon Barkley, not rushing yards, but receptions. Take it away.
Over 1.5? That's it? So 2 parts to this. And by the way, 2 weeks ago, we hit on Aaron Jones going over receptions against Green Bay. We're going to go over receptions against Green Bay again here, over 1.5. Now, for most of the season, Barkley, a lock for 2 receptions. But lately, the receptions have dried up. Well, how come? It's because Barkley was on this mission for 2,000 yards. And in December, they dialed back his receptions because the rushing numbers were so big. He had a 29-carry game. He had a 31-carry game in the last 2 weeks. So they were really pushing Barkley hard. They didn't want to throw to him. And so they dialed back the receptions. That's all going to come back now. He's hit the 2,000. He's rested from the last week's bye. The big reason Barkley's going to go over, though, is Green Bay. Over the entire regular season, Green Bay has allowed the 3rd most running back receptions in the league, 5.5 per game. They've also allowed the 3rd most running back receiving yards, but I prefer the reception line on this one. More importantly, over the last 6 games, Green Bay allows the most running back receptions. And over those 6 games, 11 different backs have topped 1.5 receptions. And here's your real clincher. Get this. 12 straight opposing lead runners have topped 1.5 receptions against Green Bay. 12 straight. What are the odds Saquon Barkley is going to break that streak?
That's phenomenal. Great breakdown. While you're a Hall of Famer, let's stick in this game. You have 2 more that you like. Let's go to the opposing quarterback here with Jordan Love. What do you want to do with him?
We're going to take the under here. 2 big factors at play. You've got the great Eagles secondary and Jordan Love devolving into a dink and dunk passer. And it's all because of the loss of Christian Watson, which really hobbles this offense. In the last 3 games without Christian Watson, this ACL, Jordan Love's average distance of target drops off a cliff. Now, normally with Christian Watson in the game, his average distance of target is 8.5 yards. That's the 4th longest in the NFL. But then you take Watson off of this team. In those games, his average distance of target drops down to just over 6. That's the 2nd shortest behind only Cooper Rush. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, it's only a couple of yards, whatever, 1.5, 2.5 yards, who cares? But here's the thing. It makes a huge difference extrapolated over the whole game. In the 154 instances in which a quarterback only averaged 6 passing yards per pass or less, the average total passing yards that game is only 170 yards. This line is 223 passing yards. And so there's that. And then, of course, the Eagles secondary, which is awesome. Since week 6, when Cooper DeJean got put in and become the starter, here's the Eagles ranks in pass defense. Number 1 in passing yards allowed, number 1 in yards per attempt allowed, number 5 in completion percentage, and number 1 in pass breakups. And for the 10 passers who went under today's line for Jordan Love of 223 passing yards, they average 70 yards under 70. So I don't see it all coming together for Jordan Love with Christian Watson out in this game.
Okay, 2 quarterbacks again. Let's go with this one I love. Baker Mayfield got this on 1 rush last week on that big 3rd and 14 play. Baker Mayfield rushing yards.
Love this. Quarterback scrambles are a bit random, but I'm going to try to build a case, and you can tell me if you think it works. Of the teams playing this weekend, the Commanders have allowed the most quarterback rushes and the 2nd most quarterback rushing yards at 19.5 per game. But more specifically, if you cull Washington's opposing quarterbacks down to those who can run or functional runners, Daniel Jones twice, Jalen Hurts twice, Deshaun Watson, Lamar Jackson, Trey Lance, and in week 1, Baker Mayfield himself, those quarterbacks, the Commanders allow 34 rushing yards per game. That's double what we need. I need Baker to go over 17.5. Also, Baker Mayfield's gone over that number in 3 of the last 4 games. And last thing I'll mention, Washington pressures quarterbacks, but they can't seal the deal. They only have a 17% conversion rate of turning quarterback pressures into sacks. So that means the other 84% of the time, that pressure is not turning into a sack. Baker Mayfield, one of the better scrambling quarterbacks out there, and that's how he gets the 17.5 rushing yards scrambling.
Okay, love it. How about Josh Allen?
Josh Allen, we're going to go over on Josh Allen, 229 passing yards. And I know what you might be thinking right now, up against Patrick Surtain. Oh, hold me, I'm scared. Before you go fetal with fear, we're going to build a case here. The Broncos secondary was elite. First 11 games of the year, arguably the best secondary in football. But lately, Broncos secondary is getting roasted by good quarterbacks, not even not so good quarterbacks. So not including last week when they played the Chiefs reserves. The previous 5 games, Broncos allowing an average of 331 passing yards per game. That is 110 more than I need for today's line. And those numbers came against only one elite passer, Joe Burrow. The rest of them, Justin Herbert, Jameis Winston, Anthony Richardson, and the combo platter of Gardner Minshew and Desmond Ridder. That's it. So roll all that together. Allen's been over this line in 7 out of the last 10. He's got his full receiving crew, Coleman and Cooper and Samuel. Everybody's healthy. I think he hits the over with relative ease here, Josh Allen.
Any inside information that you can share? My guess is no, but what's going to happen with the Monday night game with the Vikings and the Rams?
I do not have inside information on this, but I want to mention this. If it does get moved, people should understand Minnesotans en masse go to Arizona for the winter. And so you've got all these retirees. That would turn into a virtual home game for Minnesota if this thing gets moved to Arizona. So this would be really, really helpful for Minnesota.
Yeah, here's the thing, Charge, right? Because the Rams were, I should say the Vikings, they were bet all the way down to like -1 or pick them at some spots. I think I got to that number. If this is moved from LA, and they don't have a great home field, but it's a playoff game, to like Arizona, in your point, Vikings will go back to 3, I'm guessing.
Yeah, that'd be worth a couple of points.
Yep. What's your favorite player prop in this game?
Well, can I give you one more we haven't hit yet? Do we have time?
Yeah, for sure. We have got plenty of time.
Okay, good. All right, great. I want to talk about Kiren Williams in this game, this Vikings game. Over 81.5 rushing yards. For the first 13 weeks of the season, the Vikings run defense was top 3 in basically everything. Yards per carry, success rate, yards after contact, EPA, DVOA, whatever you wanted. But this rushing defense since then has withered. Luke, I've got an image for you guys. This is the current Vikings run defense right here. Take a look at this. Right there. That's it. There's your Vikings. There's your Vikings. That's how bad it's withered for the Minnesota Vikings run defense of late. Here's where they rank since week 13. Yards per carry, 20th. Rushing yard EPA, 17th. Yards after contact, 21st. And run defense success rate, the Vikings are down to 31st. Since week 13. Here's Kiren Williams. He posted 97 yards against Minnesota in week 8 when the Vikings run defense was good. Now, and Williams gets a massive workload. He has the NFL's highest snap rate of any running back by a mile, 87%. The next closest is Jonathan Taylor at 80%. And add in that injury to Blake Corum, Williams could see like 100% of the running back snaps against the Vikings. And in the last month, McVay pounded Kiren Williams with 29 rushes on 2 different occasions. And then last week, pulled him back to just 13 rushes to give him fresh legs against Minnesota. Kiren Williams over 81.5 rushing yards.
Okay, that is dynamite. One more here. I like Derrick Henry to go over 5.5 receiving yards, but you want to look at another back for the Ravens. Who and why?
Well, and I'm absolutely with you if Justice Hill misses. But if Justice Hill comes in, I think that might be the better play here. He's trying to come back from a concussion, but he's doing full workouts at this stage. And usually that means you're going to get lifted from the concussion protocol. Now, Hill has missed 3 games. And in those 3 games, Derrick Henry has caught 2 passes in all of those, which he does not normally do. Normally, Henry is completely binary, 0 or 1. I guess literally binary. He's 0 or 1 receptions a game. Justice Hill, though, really changes things a lot. His line is 17.5 receiving yards. He hit this line 7 different times this year. That's half of his games. And he was trending towards more usage lately. In Justice Hill's last 4 games, he was averaging 4 catches for 28 yards. And the Steelers have allowed an opposing runner to top today's line, 17.5 receiving yards, 6 straight games, and 7 of the last 8. And that includes Justice Hill in Week 11, who caught for 28 yards against this same team. So I think the play here is Justice Hill, not Derrick Henry. But if Justice Hill misses, then Derrick Henry over 4.5 is an absolute pound that number. I mean, that's a humongous opportunity right there.
Very good. Last one. No time to break it down, but you like Tucker Kraft under 3.5 catches for Green Bay.
Yeah, I do. There's a lot of factors here, and he's a hit or miss guy, and this lines up like a miss game.
All right, that was awesome. Again, if you want to draft a fantasy football team for the playoffs, go to guillotineleagues.com. They're drafting still as we speak. Dynamite to talk to you again, man. We'll see you soon. Thanks for the time.
Thanks, friends. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Enjoy the games this weekend. He was on the Progressive Guest Line. Win some, lose some is up next. I don't know if this qualifies as a bad beat, but I can tell you this, it completely stunk to be on the losing side of this wager. I'll give you the details on it coming up.
You spoke, we listened. Introducing the all-new VSiN Watch app. Now, you can watch and listen to VSiN expert analysis live wherever you are. Missed a show? No problem. Catch replays of VSiN's full lineup at any time. View highlights sorted by sport. Or use the search feature to find specific teams and topics you're looking for. And the best part? It's free for a limited time. Download the VSiN Watch app today. Available now on the App Store and Google Play. And join us on the Sports Betting Network. last night?
Wow, winning.
Or was it a rough one?
Well, they can't all be winners, can they?
Loser! You're a loser! Pauly Howard recaps the night in sports betting in Win Some, Lose Some.
Incredible game. Over action. And 227 up to 231. Cavs and Thunder. Awesome game. And I concur with what Windhorst said about the third quarter, 43-41 OKC.
You know what drives me nuts about people who hate the NBA? They would not watch a game like last night. They'd see the score and they'd be like, my God, where's the defense? First of all, when the NBA had good defense, it was a horrendous product. OKC has legitimately a historically great defense, but it doesn't matter when you have shot making like that and skilled players who just are dynamite at passing the ball, getting it to the open person, and then guess what? There's an open three, it's going down.
Also pace.
It was a great game.
Yeah, in the 90s, everyone walked the ball up the floor. Yep. That's why the games were in the 80s, too. Pistons, Nets under 216 down to 211, 113-98. Cavs win some, 28-1 when they lead at halftime. Record of 32-4. 2 11-game winning streaks, 23 wins by double digits, 19-1 at home. Nova and under. What happened here? Nova plus 2.5 to minus 1.5, and the under 147 to 143.5.
I had Nova when they flipped to the dog, but I took a money line. I had them even money. So it's Villanova 60. I'm sorry, I had UConn. Villanova led 67-66 with 107 left. This is the sequence for UConn. Down the stretch. Miss three, offensive rebound, timeout, missed jumper, steal, missed layup, offensive rebound, foul on Villanova. Karaben misses both free throws. That's your ball game. Yeah. How many times in the last 2 years would I lose a game like that with Hurley and UConn? Not one. Not one game until last night.
Yeah, Calipari goes down again. Old Miss plus 150. Couple lose some. Bulls Pacers over. 242 up to 246.5. Don't cut and pace, guys. Come on. It fell 242. Wizards Sixers over. 216 up to 222. And the Clippers from 1 up to 4. Joker out. And they took out the Clippers no problem, and Kawhi away to be with his family. Couple lose some videos. Subscribe, be part of the team. VSiN.com, our radio and podcast friends. You always want to see these tweets and videos at Pauly Does Vegas on Instagram. A new one where the dog has the zoomies in the car. He's in the back seat. Go out the window to the left. Go back out to the right. Come back out to the left. The guy behind the car's filming the whole thing. But this is unprecedented. And finally it's like, I've had enough. I can't. I'm getting dizzy. Oh, no. Back again, more zoomies.
It's a little scary when you're the driver, though.
Yeah.
And that happens. I got to be very careful with Frankie because he always does the windows. He'll hit the power button and it goes down. And I've heard so many stories about just like dogs when you're going 30 miles an hour. They're like, okay, see you later. I'm going to jump out the window. That would be a killer.
Yep. And this is the French Bulldog giving you a heads up. He's getting ready for the zoomies in the living room, right? He's looking, right? Yeah, okay, you ready? I'm going to do my thing. Are you ready? Here we go. Look at the big fella. Get the big porch, front porch.
Oh, look, he has to run. His legs are so short.
I know. He's just running around the coffee table nonstop with the zoomies coming back in. Oh, at 360. Then he stops, showing off, going back around. That's a big coffee table, looking good. There, okay, a little tired out, right? Gonna lay down. Look at this. Look at this guy. Reminds me of Art. Doug's French Bulldog. I got to get one. They're awesome. They're 10 Gs, though. Look at him.
He looks like he's at the Olympics ready to run the 100 meters.
Look at his face. You want to see me go? Ready? Here we go.
You know, he squats like his lower back is so close to the ground.
Yeah. That's awesome. I'll show you one tomorrow. This dog gets a workout, what he does with the door. Excellent. Get ready for big game 59 with a big deal to match. Save $59 off VSiN Pro annual subscription when you sign up with promo code FTM. Become a VSiN Pro annual subscriber. Bet smarter all year long with full access. Every best bet, every host, every guest. The betting splits from DraftKings and Circa. The dog videos. The moose videos. VSiN.com/subscribe. Promo code FTM. VSiN.com/subscribe. You ready? So what we waited for. You know, I could have had better matchups, but this is a good matchup tonight. But 5 straight days playoff games should be, I agree with Derek, eventually it'll be number 2 weekend to come to Las Vegas ahead of the Super Bowl.
Okay.
Only behind March Madness.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult to like top March Madness or get on that level. And it's because it's 4 days in a row. And you have games going on out here Pacific time that start at 9:15, 9:30 in the morning, and they go until 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. You can't spread games out over a format like this and come close to those 4 days. That's special, unique, and can't be topped.
Yeah.
But this is also like this weekend alone, starting tonight, I can already tell you, that this is how, as someone who is married now with going on 9 months old, little Sebastian, I can already tell you the friction that's coming at the Moss household.
Tough.
She wanted me to go to an event tonight. I originally committed, and then I said, wait a second here. What am I thinking? There's a game going on tonight. That can't happen. She had something planned for tomorrow night.
Oh, boy.
That's already been canceled. I'm already doing something else for that game. Then we know people who are in town on Saturday, hanging out at sports books, pools, whatever, all day for the games. Well, I'm going to be gone to watch the games on Saturday. And then, you know what? I'll stay at home with you and Sebastian on Sunday. Problem is, games are on for the next 9 hours, so I'm going to be useless. I'm speaking for a huge majority of people probably right now who are in my position.
Yep.
You have nothing to worry about because you never made the mistake like I did.
Yeah. Is he?
I'm half joking, but yeah.
Is he dating yet? Is he interested in girls?
I cannot begin to tell you, Paul. You joked around that you and Sean are thinking about this.
Huh?
And I said, don't. You would not believe how much a kid changes like every month. And I'm looking back the last month and a half and looking at photos to what he looked like and how he's operating. He's grabbing. He's like this now.
Grabbing stuff. Always got to be
He's
on
almost
alert.
standing, and he's going to be walking pretty soon. He's scooting all the way. It's incredible how he has changed in the last 6 weeks.
How do you compare it to a puppy?
A puppy is infinitely easier.
It is?
It's not even. Oh, God, there's no comparison. Why do people tell you that having a kid is the same thing as a dog?
I could see. Oh, wow.
Not even close. A dog is light years easier than having a kid. I love having puppies. I think it's great. Done it several times.
Yeah.
They can be a headache, but this is, if you're not on your toes now where he's at, the house is going to burn down.
Okay. Similarities there if they grabbed the wrong thing. Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah. But this is, I was thinking about it too, like if some of these teams didn't vomit on themselves and blow their seasons, like if you had Miami playing Ole Miss, Oregon, certainly how big the totals would be and how fun they are to watch. But, they blew it. But
well, they have nobody to blame.
Sure. But let's take advantage of this, and hopefully we get a 13-10 game.
I mean, I will say this, again, comparing it to March Madness, how many times last 25 years, when you're living through it, have you said, this is an unbelievable Final Four?
Yeah.
My guess is it's going to be, you can count that many times on one hand.
Yeah. A Cinderella would have been nice, too. I thought Boise, Notre Dame would have been great. But this 2 heavyweights tonight, and then Ohio State, Texas.
Actually, to watch Genty tonight against that defense and to have him national TV on a Thursday night game to go to the national title game, to me, that would have been the nuts for sure. But this game's damn good. I think it's a very tricky handicap. Other than maybe well,
side's tough, yeah.
Yeah, side's definitely tough. Here's the thing, right? Every person in the world has made the case for the under, and I get it, it's dropped, but now it's holding steady at like 45.5, which is still a key number with totals, and it feels like too high of a number, but why is it staying at 45.5? Why is it not coming down even more? Because then books are going to be exposed because of a huge middle opportunity and people who bet, but you're betting smaller limits when the game was released with the total than you are, 2 hours before game time. So, I don't know, 45.5 feels like a really big number to me anyway. You more excited for tonight or tomorrow night?
Not tonight. Tomorrow could live up to the hype, but it also could get out of control. I mean, if Ohio State brings their A game again, this thing's over at halftime.
I'll tell you that I saw some video coming out of Dallas on the freeways.
Yeah, sure.
With all that snow and then the ice. Again, you reminded me that I was at that Green Bay-Pittsburgh Super Bowl. I think it was 2010. The whole area was overtaken by an ice storm. And so every year they will give the media, I always thought this was funny, they would give the media a police escort to like media day at the stadium. Is that necessary? Anyway, regardless.
Yeah.
We were driving, no joke, from like downtown Dallas to Arlington to the stadium for media day. I think the bus was going 15 miles an hour.
I don't get it. I was on one of those too. That's when I went to go when the undefeated Patriots lost to the Giants. That's when I asked Brady, you got to be kidding me with this U2. They're the most overrated band of all time. And, yeah, he disagreed and stuff. He's like, who do you like? I go Metallica. He goes, yeah, okay. You look like a Metallica guy. The offensive lineman like it. But I felt weird the whole time. It's like, this is not necessary.
We don't need that.
We don't need a couple bozos on a bus. I mean, come on.
Yeah, exactly right. Like, of all the things to give a police escort to, this would probably not be one of them.
Yes.
But it looks like it's like shades of 2010 all over again based on the video that I saw.
I talked to Paul Stone Tuesday. He doesn't know if he's going.
We'll find out.
He's got to be he's concerned about it. I don't blame him.
Yeah. So what does that mean then in terms of, because it's right there, right in Texas's backyard. What does that mean overall? We'll talk to Paul Stone coming up next, professional sports bettor. Is he going to go? We'll get his analysis on that game. We'll get the Orange Bowl tonight, some player props as well coming up on Follow the Money. It's VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
And we're out.
Okay, give me 1 sec. I need to load funds into my gaming apps.
Stormy,